afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Jenny Montgomery. We're talking with the former National Wild Turkey Federation CEO, Rob Keck, about conservation efforts and so much more. Take a look at this clip from last year.
The commitment of the organization, as I understand it, for the future, conservation of wild turkey and the preservation of hunting heritage, that to me is the reason they would need to support NWTF, why they need to support conservation efforts in general. And I would just encourage people to get with the chapter, join the organization, read the magazine, go on social media, and see what NWTF is all about, what it's doing out there on the ground, what it's doing in classrooms, what it's doing in research.
And my favorite is a comment beneath that clip on YouTube. Someone wrote, "Rob Keck doesn't get the recognition he deserves, in my opinion." GOAT right there. Rob Keck, the GOAT. And just looking at his career history, it's clear that he's made a big impact in the world of wildlife and outdoor adventure. Rob was CEO of the National Wild Turkey Federation for 27 years. He founded the extremely successful Families Afield program, recruiting more than 2 million new hunters. He's consulted with U.S. presidents and other world leaders, and is a member of the South Carolina Outdoor Hall of Fame. And I am just getting started. When I said GOAT, you know, Rob, you know that's greatest of all time.
I know,
yes,
that's a little too much.
Okay, that is what someone who viewed the YouTube clip said about you. And I thought, what a nice thing to say. So in a nutshell, Rob, what you have done is you have been a driving force in the field of conservation for 30 years.
I have. I've been so fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. You know, back in the late 70s, the wild turkey was being restored in some places across the country, and the National Wild Turkey Federation was just getting on its feet.
In Edgefield.
In Edgefield, South Carolina, and I had the opportunity to come in and be a leader. I'd sort of built my past on turkey calling contests, having won a U.S. Open in the world, and I knew everybody in the turkey world, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I saw an opportunity to put more back than I would ever take away in restoring the wild turkey. And I had a great team. I was able to bring about a team that was dedicated, passionate about the outdoors, of wanting to put turkeys back where they were, well, where they existed over 100 years ago and have been gone for well over a century. And this involved just a great partnership and so many other people that made it happen.
Okay, so the turkeys, the wild turkey that you gone for over a century,
yes,
but not extinct.
Just not extinct. Yeah.
Had construction and progress and all of that driven the turkeys away? Where did they go?
Actually, back in the early 1900s, people were living off the land, market hunting. People literally thought there was an endless supply of wildlife, and they just decimated the populations that were here, because it wasn't just turkeys, it was deer, it was ducks, all the wildlife. I mean, this is what people needed to live on. And the word conservation wasn't even in existence back then.
All right, so when you say conservation, how do you mean it in terms of wildlife?
Well, in conservation, it talks about management, managing the land, managing the resource, trying to find a balance where you've got the right amount of wildlife for the available habitat. If there are too many animals, well, I'm sure there's many here in the CSRA that live in a subdivision where just an overpopulation of deer have eaten down their shrubs and flowers and what have you.
Right.
And that's a good example of having too many deer in a particular area, and that they needed to be reduced to have a balance with their natural food. And so management does not include preservation. Some people think, well, if we just leave it untouched, it'll be fine. But, you know, with man's intervention, man's presence on the land, we've got to learn how to share it. Yeah. And we've got to learn how to manage that land with the right amount of critters that are going to live there.
Now, did you start hunting and fishing and all of this stuff when you were a kid? Has it been something that you've always liked?
I did. It's like the Hank Williams song, family tradition.
Okay.
It began with my dad, my granddad, my uncle. and a lot of friends. I mean, I lived in a community where people just, they lived to hunt, to fish, to trap. And so it was just natural for me. And it was something that I wanted to experience more and more in as many places as I could. And it was just a blessing to be in a place where I had such great mentors. And that's so important for hunting and really for any kind of sport, to have a good mentor. And I had a bunch of them.
And it wasn't something that you necessarily thought was going to be your career.
Not at all. Not at all.
But it just happened. Like you said, you had that opportunity with the National Wild Turkey Federation.
Yeah, most people don't realize my degree is in art and a practicing artist. And it just sort of went a different direction. And, I had the opportunity to be in front of cameras, and the next thing I'm hosting a television show and on radio. And it just launched me in a position to be able to tell the great story of the wildlife comebacks in this country. And hunters are the unsung heroes because they've paid for this through their licenses, their stamps, their permits, to help fund this restoration and this management, along with education.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Rob talked about something that we're going to get into. He does have quite a media career. In fact, you're like the pioneer of outdoor television.
One of them.
So we're going to hear about that right after the break. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking today with Rob Keck, who is the former CEO at the National Wild Turkey Federation. He is a conservationist, and he is also an ambassador for Bass Pro Shops.
I am.
Yes.
Hunting
and you
and
do
conservation.
Hunting and conservation. You were talking about conservation and management and how the hunters are the unsung heroes.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that give of their time, they give of their money. There's chapters of the National Wild Turkey Federation, Ducks Unlimited, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and all of them are spending money to go to research, to go to management, to go to education. All of this helping to improve the quality of life of all people. You don't have to be a hunter to enjoy the fruits, the benefits of what hunters have done. Who doesn't enjoy seeing a flock of geese going overhead, or a herd of deer out into a field, or listen to a turkey gobble in the springtime? And that has improved the quality of life of so many people across the country. And that's why I keep saying they're the unsung heroes of conservation. Just like you're an unsung hero of the CSRA. I do. I want to brag on you for what you do.
Thank you.
You are a blessing to this community. And I just wanted to give you, being that we're in the month of freedom and 4th of July, and a flag pin, because I look at the NWTF, I look at Bass Pro Shops representing God, family, and country, and along with that, a cross.
Oh, I love that.
And I think that this country needs this. You've done so much to bring good news to this area, to Augusta and the CSRA. We hear so much bad news out there, and I just wanted to salute you because you're giving it your best as well.
Yeah, that's very sweet. That is so special. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Rob. And I will wear that flag pin with pride, absolutely. I love the cross, too, with the nail on it.
Yeah.
That's very special. The other thing that I want to talk about that's really special is some of the people that you have hunted with. You've consulted with 5 U.S. presidents. You've walked and talked with 5 U.S. presidents, and you've hunted with some vice presidents.
I have. I've been so fortunate. Over the years, there've been Olympic champions. There's been NASCAR champions, and some of the politicians. One of the great ones that I remember were Lawton Chiles, who was governor of Florida, former senator, and a Democrat. And then Jim Baker, who was Secretary of State.
Yep.
And those two loved to turkey hunt, and I would be with them. And that's when things were really interesting, that we didn't have the divisiveness that we have.
And you had a Republican and a Democrat who
we did.
Who had fun together.
High-profile people. And I think this country is so hungry for that. But I've had this chance to hunt with, and to share camps with vice presidents. Justice Scalia, what a great man. He was an avid turkey hunter, quail hunter. In fact, my wife Susan and I, when we'd go be invited to a White House Christmas party, we'd always spend a little bit of time with him at his chambers over at the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, this is probably the only chamber that has a mounted elk, a mounted turkey, and a mounted antelope. And I just thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got so many Americans that have made such an impact on us that were hunters, they were anglers, and they were ones that had a feel for the land. And as we become more urbanized, so many people have lost touch with those rural roots. They don't understand nature's rhythm of living and dying. And, you know, I look at so many celebrities that are out there today that are carrying this great, great news of what the outdoors has to offer. There's something there for everybody.
Yes.
There really is.
Absolutely.
Whether you're just watching wildlife in your backyard or, you know, whether you're fishing along the Savannah River, there's something there for everybody to enjoy. And it all comes back to conservation.
I love that, and I have learned so much talking with you today. We didn't get to, you have to tell us a little bit before we go about the television shows, because they do owe a lot to you bringing something like that to air, outdoor television.
Well, it started back in the old Nashville Network days, and that's when I created Turkey Call Television. And it was at a time when outdoor television had fishing only in the first and second quarter of the year. And when I went to TNN, I said, look, spring turkey hunting, we got to have shows on first and second quarter. They said no. I tried 3 times. Finally, they said, we'll put you in the death slot. That was like 8:30 Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And it said, if you survive there, we'll continue. Well, what they didn't realize, we had the only hunting show first and second quarter. All the hunters, 15 million hunters, tuned into us. We immediately drew the highest ratings, went out the roof. We went to prime time the next year.
Oh, I love it.
So,
and you also have done the turkey call at a number of NASCAR races, haven't you?
I did. Actually started 4 NASCAR races in the Atlanta 500 when Bass Pro Shops was the sponsor.
Yep.
And did that with Johnny Mars, Bill Dance, the governor, and we just had such a great time. And, you know, Johnny Mars, he creates so many wonderful things for so many people, a passionate individual, but he is one that is dedicated to conservation. And he understands that if you don't have fish, you can't sell fishing rods. Or if you don't have wildlife, you can't sell camouflage. And so it's such an honor for me to be able to work with him day in and day out. The Bass Pro Shops right here in Augusta, they put so much back into conservation. And it's one that has inspired me to do even more in the days ahead.
We have not had enough time to talk to Rob Keck, clearly, but you can find out a lot more about him. You can go to YouTube and find a lot of different videos and learn more about the history of this man right here and what he has done, not just for our area, but for conservation, like you've said, not here but around the world. You've hunted around the world, and you've made friends around the world.
I have.
And we're lucky that we can call you one of our own.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thanks for what you do, Jenny.
I appreciate it so much, Rob. We'll be right back.